Hi guys, today we're learning about Roy Lichtenstein and his onomatopoeia work. Provided in a link popping up right now is the definition of onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is a word with a sound associated to it. So it's like zoom, crash, splash, kaboom, all of those fun words that you see in comic books. Now, Roy Lichtenstein was a master at using these into his artwork, so that's what we're going to do today for our project. The materials that you're going to need to complete this project are scissors, glue. Most of you have glue sticks, but if you have liquid glue, that's awesome. That's why I have the paintbrush to just smooth out the glue. Color pencils and markers that match your colored pencils. So today the colors that I chose were blue, green, yellow, red, and purple. The markers going with are blue, green, orange to go with the yellow so it shows up a little bit better, red, and purple. Alright guys, we're going to go through the 5 pages that are included into your folders. Alright guys, these are the 5 sheets that are included into your folders. So we're just going to go through each one of them so that you know what I'm talking about when I reference it later in the video. So this is your background sheet. These are your call-out shapes that we're going to layer on top of our background sheet. You choose one of these. Okay, next up is just a shape to go on top of your call-out sheet. Roy Lichtenstein liked to layer up all of his artwork to put emphasis on his onomatopoeia. Speaking of onomatopoeia, all of your words are right here. I want you to choose one, and I included 5 of them. And then our very last sheet are just some random shapes. Like I said, Roy Lichtenstein really liked to add layers to his artwork to add dimension and emphasis. If we all remember what emphasis is, I want you to include that into your Google Classroom form. Alright guys, let's get started with our Roy Lichtenstein onomatopoeia work. Guys, let's get started with our background piece. I want you to use colored pencils when coloring this. I chose the color blue. The reason that we're going to do colored pencils is because we're able to get that nice even background going because we're going to go in with a marker and color in all of these fun little dots. So while I'm working on this, I'm going to be talking about Roy Lichtenstein. There is going to be a biography sheet included both on Google Classroom but also in your folder. But anyways, while I'm coloring to kind of pass the time, we're going to talk about him. So Roy Lichtenstein was an American pop artist best known for his boldly colored comic strip-like artwork. He was born October 27th, 1923 in New York City. He lived up in Manhattan's Upper West Side. In the late 1960s, Lichtenstein became a leading figure in the new pop art movement, inspired by advertisements and comic book strips. You kind of see where we're getting with this comic book with all of those little dots. Anyways, in his early years, he was really successful as a real estate developer. His father was a really successful real estate developer. Sorry about that, guys. And as a boy, he was very fascinated by science and comic books, which who doesn't love a good comic book? And so his father took him to watercolor lessons in 1937. So that's when he was first introduced into art. Following his graduation of the Franklin School of Boys in Manhattan in 1940, Lichtenstein attended Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio, but did not finish his studies because he was interrupted in 1943 when he was drafted and sent to World War II. So he is a veteran. How cool is that? That you come back and you're this successful as an artist, but you're also a war veteran. That is just awesome to me to find out. After his wartime service, Lichtenstein returned to Ohio State in 1946 to finish his undergraduate degree and master's degree in both fine arts. Very, very cool. And in the 1940s, Lichtenstein exhibited his art in galleries nationwide, including Cleveland and New York City. And in the 1950s, he often took his artistic subjects from mythology, and American history, folklore. He painted those subjects and styles and paid homage to the earlier art of the 18th century, modernism. So he didn't always paint in this comic book-esque like style. Lichtenstein began experimenting with different subjects in the early 1960s. He was teaching at Rutgers University. His newer work was both contemporary on American popular culture, reacting to recent success of abstract expressionism painting by artists like Jackson Pollock, who we're going to learn about next. Instead of painting abstract, often subject-less canvases as Pollock did. So remember Pollock, he was more of that expressionist where he would throw the paint and it's not like he could plan out the ending. He could plan out the paint strokes that he was going to do, but he couldn't plan out what it was exactly going to look like. Lichtenstein could. Lichtenstein took his imagery direct from comic books and advertising, rather than emphasize his painting process on his own inner emotional life of his art. He mimicked his borrowed sources right down to the impersonal look stencil process, which was a mechanical printing used for commercial artwork. So Lichtenstein didn't print off these sheets with all of these circles. He used a big machine to help him do that, and he would build up layers on top. So each stencil with a different color had to be a different stencil. So we'll talk about that here coming up. So this background would be a totally different stencil than his onomatopoeia work. That would have to be different. But he could mass produce his artwork like that. In his later career in the 1960s, Lichtenstein had stopped using the comic book sources. And in the 1970s, he focused on turning the creation of his paintings that referred to as art of the earliest 20th century masters like Picasso and Matisse, Salvador Dali. In the 1980s and 90s, he painted representations of modern house interiors. So Lichtenstein kind of moved all over the place. He also is a sculptor, guys, which is really, really cool. If you have some extra time this week, go ahead and look him up. He's a very interesting man. So, with that being said, I have essentially my background all kind of colored in. I do have some areas that I kind of missed as I was talking to you, but for the most part, it's pretty colored in. So, I'm going to take my marker now, and I'm just going to color in these dots. So you can kind of see what I'm doing. This is going to take me a while, so I will see you guys in just a minute.
1 hour later.